Have you ever felt like you're living in a world with more comfort than ever before, but you're also more anxious and distracted than ever? It's a huge paradox of our time, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into the ancient reason why your brain is having such a hard time with modern life. So let's get right into it.
No, really think about it for a second. You know that the salad is the healthy choice, but that pizza, it's practically screaming your name. Or you sit down to try and focus, but your thumb just kind of has a mind of its own, endlessly scrolling. It feels like this daily, exhausting battle of willpower, doesn't it? Well, what if I told you willpower has almost nothing to do with it? The real reason is much, much deeper and a whole lot more ancient.
Okay, so to really get our modern problems, we have to go way, way back. I'm talking back to the environment that literally forged our instincts. And look, this isn't just some boring history lesson. This is basically the user manual for the brain you're using at this very moment.
Just take a look at the scale here. For over 95% of human history, we're talking hundreds of thousands of years, we lived as hunter-gatherers. Everything we think of as normal, farming, cities, the internet, that's all just a tiny, tiny little sliver at the very, very end. What this means is that your brain is basically running on ancient software. The hardware was designed for a world that has completely vanished.
And in that ancient world, these things weren't bad habits. They were life-saving features. Craving sugar? That was your brain screaming, hey, eat that super rare, high-energy fruit. You might not find another one for weeks. Avoiding effort? Totally smart. You had to conserve every single calorie. And seeking novelty? That wasn't about being bored. It was about finding a new water source or, spotting a predator before it spotted you.
And then, boom, in what is basically the blink of an evolutionary eye, everything changed. We went from a world of total scarcity to a world of shocking, almost unimaginable abundance. A world our brains were just not built to handle. This chart just perfectly illustrates the problem. Our brains evolved to live on the left side of this chart, but here we are, living on the right. An instinct to find scarce food suddenly becomes a huge problem when a 10,000-calorie pizza is just a phone call away. An instinct to save energy becomes a health crisis when the biggest physical challenge of the day is walking from the couch to the fridge.
So this brings us to the single most important idea of this whole explainer. There's actually a scientific term for this crazy conflict between our ancient wiring and our modern world.
It's called evolutionary mismatch. That's it. It's kind of like the ghost in the machine. It's that nagging feeling that even when things are objectively good, something just feels off. It's your ancient brain getting totally confused and overwhelmed by modern signals. So let's break down how this mismatch plays out with three things we all struggle with: food, attention, and stress. Okay, first up, food. Remember that ancient craving for sugar, salt, and fat? Well, it never got the memo that food isn't scarce anymore. So when you see a donut, your brain lights up like it just discovered a beehive after a week of starving. It screams, eat it now, because its core programming has no idea there are a million more donuts right around the corner. Now, let's talk about attention. That exact same survival instinct is at play here too. The drive to seek out novelty. A rustle in the bushes, a different kind of berry. That was absolutely critical for survival. Finding something new gave our brain a little rewarding hit of a chemical called dopamine. But in our modern world, well, that delicate reward system gets completely hijacked. Our phone is a perfectly engineered dopamine slot machine. It's built from the ground up to feed our ancient craving for novelty. Every single scroll, every notification, every like, it's like pulling the lever and getting a tiny, unsatisfying little prize. It keeps our brain hooked, which makes it nearly impossible to do the deep, focused work that's actually meaningful. And then there's stress. Your ancestors' stress response, that whole fight-or-flight system, was designed for short, intense bursts of mortal peril. Think a tiger in the grass. But today, that exact same system fires up for a stressful work email, a traffic jam, or a negative comment online. Your body is flooding with stress hormones as if your life is literally in danger, and it leaves you feeling chronically anxious and totally exhausted. So, hearing all this, it might be easy to feel a little, defeated, but I really want us to shift our perspective here. This is not a story about our personal failures. It's a story about our biology. Just let that sink in for a minute. Your struggle with your diet, with distraction, with anxiety, it is not a character flaw. It's actually proof that you have a perfectly normal, well-adapted human brain for a world that just doesn't exist anymore. And that is incredibly empowering. Because once you understand the mismatch, you can stop fighting your brain and start working with it.
So the big question is, how do we bridge this gap? We can't change our ancient wiring, that's for sure, but what we can do is change our environment and our habits to work with our biology instead of constantly being at war with it.
Let's look at these solutions through that evolutionary lens. So, exercise? That's just simulating the daily hunt. It gives your body the physical challenge it was literally built for and craves. Controlling your diet, maybe with something like intermittent fasting, you're creating an artificial food scarcity that your metabolism is actually designed to handle. A digital detox? Well, that's simulating a world with way less stimulation, which lets your poor, overloaded dopamine system finally reset. Meditation can be seen as a way to consciously train those ancient super hyperactive fear circuits to calm down. And seeking out hard challenges, learning a new skill, pushing your limits, that satisfies your brain's deep-seated need to overcome obstacles to survive. See, these aren't just trendy wellness hacks. They're smart, intentional ways to bridge the gap.
So if you take one thing away, let it be this. The very ease and comfort of our modern world is paradoxically the source of so many of our modern problems. Our biology is just confused by a life without physical challenges, without real scarcity, and without clear and present danger.
You know, understanding this mismatch gives you a whole new kind of freedom. You can stop blaming yourself and start designing a life that actually honors your ancient brain. So the final question really isn't about what's wrong with you, it's about what you're going to do with this knowledge. Knowing your brain thrives on challenge, what meaningful challenges are you going to choose for it?